Hi, this is the newsstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast, #1 internet singles top network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
We get to see your real background today.
Well, it's part of it. It's not quite as nice and pretty and arranged as I like it to be. So, go with the flow.
You look just as fabulous
Oh,
without it.
thank you. I appreciate that.
It's really you and not the background's like literally window dressing for you.
I know, but I like my window dressing to back me up.
Yes. Everybody gets to see my living room and my dining room.
Mm-hmm.
So today, I love this question. Who do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
I asked myself that a lot throughout my life because I liked getting older. I liked looking forward to having more choices, more options. It's funny because some people say, oh my gosh, it's so much work to be an adult. I thought it was a lot of work to be a kid. So at least I feel like I have more choices now.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important to keep thinking, what do I want to do next? Who do I want to be next? What was I before? What do I like about it? What do I learn? How do I want to apply that to next? What do you think, Barry?
Well, it's actually a question I've asked a lot of my clients as well, because it's kind of fun to ask the question because usually you ask that question, people go, what? I thought I'm grown up. It's that tilt. But frankly, I like it because it brings to mind, first of all, the things we didn't necessarily consider, I should say we forgot to consider as an adult, because when we were kids, we had all these visions and ideas of things we wanted to be, race car driver, astronaut, whatever it was, that we sort of put to the side sort of thing with our toys when we become an adult. And we forget to be in that idea or spirit, because the thing is, and for me, this kind of philosophy is that we're always growing up until we're no longer here. So why not have questions and thoughts about, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? Because I'm not there yet.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I tell people a lot is that I want to be my friend Donna when I grow up, because she's 9 years older than me, and we go horseback riding every week on her horses, and she walks her 3 golden retrievers every week for 2.5 miles and boogie boards with her grandchildren and does Pilates and is now working on her 15th or 16th book and lives life to the fullest. And you can't even see her map for all the pins in it and how many times she's been traveling and out of the country. And she just got back from her 3rd trip to Africa. So that's one of the things I tell people, that when you're living life to the fullest, when you're like, what is it makes my heart happy? What makes me upright? What brings me joy every day? And if you want to look her up, her name is Donna Freese, Fress, and she was horribly abused as a child. She had a very awful, horrible, terrible childhood, something you wouldn't wish on anybody. Her dad ended up going to prison and dying there. And it's really quite this. So her first book is all about that. And the second book is what happened next. But you see, now you go, oh, because we look at people's lives often and think, oh, I know all about their life and it's way better than mine or better than I think. And I remember seeing a quote once that said, if I think somebody's life is perfectly happy, I obviously don't know them well. Because that's the thing. When you look at Donna living this life to the fullest and always has a positive thing to say and always is looking forward and always finds the best in whatever we're doing, you see the choices that she's making considering how she grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing also, is, just speaking to that for a couple of seconds, one of the things you mentioned is definitely joy, is if you're out there living your life and you're not feeling joy at least 10 times a day, you're missing out. So I'll say that up front. The other thing I'll say though also is, we have a tendency as human beings oftentimes to live our life based on a history. And I talk about a lot in my work with coaching clients too, about how we choose our relationship partners based on a history, which is really not healthy.
No.
And, hindsight is 20/20, as they say. And so we look back at our lives and live a life of regret and a life of, if only things had been different, or like your friend Donna does, which I think everybody should do, and I do the best I can on this to myself, is having a ability to see the future like as a clean slate, like not been, because it hasn't been painted yet, it hasn't been drawn. It's like, it's bare walls, you can build whatever you want in there, sort of thing, that idea. And I'm working on that more and more as I realize how much more there is to do and how much I can still participate. And yes, I do have some things in my history which are great, but also things in my history that weren't so great. And none of that really controls me. Yes, it may make me who I am to a degree because it's what I built myself into being. But again, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or who do you want to be when you grow up? Can change because you decided now to choose life differently.
And oh, that living in the moment thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's such an interesting thing to strive for. And Donna's really good at that. And I recently met a man that's really good at it. And what I found is I would say now, because I've gotten better, I'm probably generally maybe 55, 58, and more than 50% that I can be in the moment. I really can be here now, as the Buddhists say, be where your feet are.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when I am hanging out with either of these two people that are living in the moment, I don't think of anything else. It's fascinating. You know, as concerned as most of us were for whatever reason, we had our own reasons to be concerned last week about the election. I was in each of their individual presence and I never gave it a thought. And I never thought about how I didn't think about it, which is really funny, until I was back in my, it was a good kind of catchy. So I want to keep being that good kind of catchy, where I'm even more in the moment, that other people have, if they're open to it, have the opportunity to catch being in the moment. It fascinated me to no end, Barry.
It is one of the gifts, you know, because there is sometimes experience of where, you know, you don't know where the time went, sort of thing. You've just been in something so wonderful, you're so joyful. Yes. There's a gift in there, as well as a recognition, is that that's a state of choice. Because we can spend so much of our time, as many people I know do, in worrying and fretting about what's not working, what should be different, how things should change, and they're not doing what they want, whether it's something personal or something global. And basically that's kind of like running in mud. Nothing's happening, moving very slowly. Alternatively, you know, and I talk about this in my work as well, because I learned this stuff over the years of many things, but even the idea of affirmations is so basic but so fundamental. But there's another teaching, I remember the guy's name. He wrote a book called Affirmations. So instead of affirm with an I, it's a form with an O, because it's forming what you create. Cool. Yeah. And basically, he takes affirmations in a way to another level, not to necessarily the next level, but another level. And he speaks about how you describe your life the way you want it to be. So it's not just an affirming the way you want to be. It's like you create a picture of it. And I've been doing those recently myself for the last month or so. I'm writing out certain parts of my life I want to have differently, because I'm happy where I am now, and there's more I want to have. Yeah. So I've been writing out these paragraphs. They're not affirmations now. They're like stories or explanations of what they are. And so the idea of being about who do I be when I grow up, what I'm creating through that vision and the ideal is a state of being that's going to shift. And that's the other part, is that oftentimes we change who we are inside before the external rises up to match it. Mm-hmm. And the key thing is, when that's the state, don't let go of what you've created inside, because the universe is trying to catch up with you, sort of thing. So you don't want to go in a place where, like, we're holding space for 3 weeks, nothing's happened. Give it up, you know, because some people do that. They have this ideal and the excitement and the joy of like, oh, and have this and be this and this, and I'm really affirming, it's really good. But after, you know, persistence wears out after a few days or a few weeks, and they go back to the old way of thinking because it didn't work the way they wanted to, or in the timing they wanted it to.
Mm-hmm. So along with that point of, okay, you're writing out, this is how I want it to be, this is how it's going to be. You also, what I've had to learn and teach my clients, and it's so fun to teach them because I'm listening to myself, is what's happening right now. What's happening that's really good right now. And if you really look at where you want to be, the pieces are coming together. We don't always acknowledge them because it doesn't look like the whole big thing. So it's one of the reasons to stop and be here. And my theme of looking back is to go, look how far I've come. You know, look at the last month, or look at the last 6 months. And I said that I wanted something more to happen, and it happened in these little increments. And when I add them all up, maybe I'm not there. Look where I am, though. Look where I am now, what progress I've made. Because if you keep focused, I mean, I know this for a fact. If you keep focusing on more please, more please, more please, and then acknowledge, did I get more? You got more.
Yeah.
It just doesn't always look like, it doesn't always, it's not always the big thing. And so sometimes I've looked at it and gone, oh, it's that, and it looks so different. I was just like skipping over it. It's been kind of eye-opening to do it that way. Have you experienced that too? You're nodding.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean I've had, it's not something consistent for me. I'll say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's been sort of glimpses and it goes away or it comes up differently. The thing, and it's part of that, I just want to speak to this side as well. There's a part of this that really does in some ways involve faith, because it isn't something that we, even though I know philosophically, spiritually, that these things happen no matter, if we hold true to it, it will happen. But the certainty of holding on to it and the clarity of holding on to it so that it happens is something that can be elusive for those of us who have busy minds. So one of the tricks, I know I'm potentially, but one of the tricks I'm very aware of sometimes is I sort of give it over to spirit, where it's like, I know this is what I want. And I sometimes say, admit to myself and to spirits, like saying, I know my focus can be a little bit wandering at times. So how about I just give it to you and take care of it?
Yeah. Hand it off to the people who are more equipped to doing it right now, and then call it back. Yeah. And keep working and keep visualizing and keep thinking about it and keep, what's the next thing that seems to be the right thing? What's the next thing that seems to be good? I don't know that we've ever talked about Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, a couple years ago, wrote a new book called Big Magic. And it's about that kind of a thing, that this idea will just pop up and you think, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I could do that. And you do it. Or you go, yeah, that's really interesting. I can't do it right now, but I'll put it there and go back. Or then, no, it's not me at all. And what happens is, I know most of us have experienced it, that a couple years later, this thing that you thought, yeah, I'm not interested, somebody else comes up with it. And you're like, I thought of that. And look at, they're doing it. Because the ideas are just floating around, and they just find somebody that when they tap, they go, yeah, come here. I'm ready. Yeah. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take action. And I think that that's also part of growing up, is saying, yes, please, me, and no, thank you. That we don't have to try everything all the time. And we certainly don't have to spread our energy everywhere. That we go, do I just want to sit here and breathe right now? Do I just want to feel Mother Earth under my feet? Do I want to go listen to the ocean? And, I want to take some action, and what would it be? Or I want to just daydream, and what action would that be? So that we're not giving ourselves too much, that we can't take in the thing that we're like, oh, that's for me. I want that. I mean, like how we met was just so serendipitously to start this. I mean, that's one of the things, that we were both open and Cece put us together, and it was so perfect. I mean, it really was. Frank was leaving, you were ready for a partner, and we could do podcasts together in our partnership. And how lovely is that we said yes when something popped up that we hadn't really thought of. I mean, I knew of you, but you didn't. I don't know if you knew of me. And yet here it is, we're together. And so I think that's one of the things to think about when you're grown up. You get to go, yeah, that sounds fun. I could do that.
That's part of the joy of this for me, definitely. And speak to the bunker for a second. It was something I didn't know how. That's the thing. I was thinking about who do you want to grow up to ideas. The thing is, I knew someone wanted to have experience of and be involved in podcasting. I tried to do it on my own, and it wasn't going anywhere. And Cece I knew from I think so, even just social media. And she's just, and I've been doing a lot of Facebook Lives for quite a while. So being on camera, so to speak, even just doing quick videos for the audience wasn't really hard for me anymore. Yeah. And when, just backstory, so when CC invited me to come join you, because Frank was someone who was, he was on and off again. He wasn't consistent, but at the time,
he was traveling,
yeah. So I was like filling in as a stunt double sort of thing. So I was doing it. It was kind of fun. But also I didn't expect it to go beyond that, because I didn't know Frank was going to be choosing out. And also to have, so it was like, oh, it's fine. I just jump in, no problem, for a couple of weeks, no problem, sort of thing. And then it rolled into doing it, ongoing. And now it's been almost 200 episodes. I guess we're doing okay with it. But it was that sense of it just being easy, because to speak to the question about who do you want to be, is knowing what you want versus how it has to happen is the key, because we are definitely we're beings where, I don't know, maybe it's true maybe more for men than for women, but we want to figure things out. We want to problem solve it and troubleshoot it and get the answers. So let's say we want to get somewhere, then we're like, how can I make all these things happen? And how can I like do all the bits and pieces and get the tools and the skills to make it happen? When all you have to do is say, this is what I want. This is the experience I want to have. This is the feeling I want to experience. And it looks like this. If I even let go of the looks like this, just let the feeling be there, because the feeling is always the motivation. If you've ever listened to Abraham Hicks or other teachings, it's always about the feeling levels, what it's about. And that is, for me, what really makes things work, is being less attached to how it's got to look and how I've got to figure it out, and more about what's it going to feel like when I'm there, and then let it rest. And it'd be amazing what happens.
Very grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, my journey was a little different, that we ended up in the same spot. I joined a Facebook Live challenge and hated every minute of doing them. Hated every minute. I would talk myself into which hat, which earrings, and which subject, and just make myself do it. Every time I made myself, I hated just talking to the camera. It felt stilted. I mean, this is not who I am, and if it's just me and the camera, and this is me with another person. But I slogged my way through 16, and I somehow saw you, and I'm like, look how comfortable he is. Oh my, how did he do that? Because everybody kept made a whole video about how uncomfortable I was, and people kept telling me I didn't look like. And 1,000 people would watch each one of mine. I was like, why? But I got the advice out, even if I was uncomfortable. I think I cover it well, but inside I felt awful. So then Frank and I started doing ours. And then Facebook Live wouldn't let us do it together anymore. So that's when I contacted Cece, because she had interviewed me a couple of times and said, teach us how to do podcasts. She just come here. And so then when she told me about you, I'm like, he's really comfortable with it. But I think I'll be good, because I'll be talking to a person still. Because I told Cece, you can never have not somebody there. One time Frank blipped off and I went, and Cece had to come on and talk to me. So when I even hired somebody to try to teach me to do it, and finally I just said, no, my grown-up decision is I'm just going to put it out there. I need a person. I had no idea how it would happen. None. And then Frank showed up, and then and I just going to everybody, I only get to do the things I like doing with this podcast. I don't have to do anything I think is hard. I don't have to do anything I have to learn how to do. I get to do all the parts that are me. And I think that's why we have so many people watch us, because they feel we're doing what we're intended to do, and we're making very grown-up decisions about it. And I think we're just going to keep being really good examples. What do you think, Barry?
I'd like to think that we are definitely good examples. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, is because I just want to go further back on my backstory. It's like fascinating down the rabbit hole. But I think one of my previous careers, I was a photographer. And so being behind the camera was easy. For years I did that. And so to be in pictures or to be in front of the camera was something I wasn't comfortable with. It just wasn't on my radar. It's like, no, that's not my thing. And now, of course, I'm going back through social media trying to find pictures to put up for different things. And I'm like, I don't find many headshots because I didn't spend much time in front of the camera. So that's an interesting awareness. But then I started, it was actually before Facebook Live, it was Periscope was the first to discover video. And a friend of mine, and it's always because a friend invites me into something. So it seems the way it works. I don't go out boldly on my own. It's always like, come do this. I'm like, okay, fine. So I did that for a while, which then led to Facebook Live, and then it led to this. So it was all just domino effects. And the thing for me was that I also did a Facebook Live challenge, but I've been doing Facebook Lives for a few months before that, like randomly, just once every couple of weeks, just not schedule wise, just like, I want to talk about this, so on a Facebook Live and talked about it. And yeah, I remember the time when the adding somebody to your Facebook Live disappeared, that function went away. So I remember that experience myself too. But I was doing Facebook Lives, and then when the Facebook Live challenge happened, that a friend of mine was running, she had it set up to do a Facebook Live challenge to do a live during the 30 days.
Marissa, that's how I got joined.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Marissa Murgatroyd or something?
No, somebody else. That was the thing. I know Marissa as well. So it's all a small world. Anyway, so the challenge happened. No, but she had one. I think she had one right after the other one. Anyway, I did these challenges. But the thing is, I didn't hear go live within 30 days. I heard go live every day for 30 days. So
me too. Yeah.
And so I ended up doing a bunch of them, and it became just, and it became easier. Because the thing was for me is that, and to be honest, I was got stuff to talk about, it seems. I mean, I ended up doing, for those that don't know my history, because they're on YouTube now, I did 1,000 videos, actually about 1,100 by the time I finished, videos almost every day, like over 4 years, 3 or 4 years. Those are on my YouTube channel if you want to go check them out other times. I got tons of talks. So they're a lot grainy because I had an older phone, so the quality of videos not as good. And also I've changed over 4 years worth of like my hairstyle and stuff.
They have to do a break.
Oh yes, I don't rush out. Yes, doing a break. So anyway, we'll get back on track with the conversation.
Usually it's very reminding me because I'm usually running off. So it was nice that I got to remind you.
Yes.
So we'll be back after the commercial with this fun conversation as always. Hi, this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry, and we're having a little reminiscing because I remember thinking 1,000. It was just truly, I can't tell you how much torture it was to do 16 or 18, or it was supposed to be 27, but it took me 3 days to just figure out how to do a Facebook Live. I felt really grown up when I figured out how to do that, though. Oh, yeah. But I was in awe. I was in awe that you did that. I couldn't believe it. I was so amazed.
I mean, looking back on, part of me is still amazed I did it because it wasn't something it wasn't about I was going to do 1,000. And she was like, I'll do another one tomorrow. And so it was literally next step. And so again, who do you want to be, since we're on that theme, is sometimes we have this vision about who we want to be. And it's so far away from where we are currently that we don't think we accomplish all the steps in between now and then. And there's a quote from many years ago. It talks about the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And I also learned along the way, my own journey, about how it's so important to reevaluate each time you take a step. You know, there was a thing I learned at seminar, this going back years and years ago, tangents, but about how we receive feedback. And so one of those things about feedback is the environment around you or what you're looking at. So if you're looking towards a goal that you have, maybe it is a plan, it takes you about a year to get there. It's good to reevaluate each step you take. And so the thing about feedback is you've got to notice when you take a step, okay, what changed? Am I close to my goal or am I further away? Oh, if I'm further away, let me change direction. Or if I go this way and suddenly I notice that the goal moved 5 steps towards me because I did something important now that impacted the end results, it's even easier to get to, then that's even better. So the thing about going towards what you want to be, how you want to be, who you want to be when you grow up, is it may not take as long as you think. And also the steps to get there may not be mechanically as you think it should be. So that's why I say about it's important to know what it is you want and not how you get there. Because the how you get there will actually make it harder for you to do what you want to do. So again, focus on the who you want to be, what you want to have, how you want to experience, rather than the mechanics of how it's supposed to happen.
And one of the things I've learned about really acknowledging being grown up is I have even more permission to be my teenage self when I need to let her out, because I spent a lot of years being a very serious grown-up person. I was running a company, I got divorced. It was a lot of, it felt very, grown-up felt very serious to me. And now being grown up, there's some serious times. I have a lot more fun now because I can play, I can be silly, I can be flirty, I can be fun, I can find friends that want to be that with me and bring that out in me, and we can do that together. And I think I've known that it was a goal for me to learn how to be more lighthearted. And because I was kind of a serious kid, so it's been my natural fallback thing. So I've attracted people in my life that make me laugh. And as you said, somebody goes, why did you try this? Okie doke, I'll go try that. I'm going to go be an official groupie at a band this weekend. I think it's going to be really fun. I said, I think you can teach me. And like the time I went to a Jimmy Buffett concert, I had never been to a Jimmy Buffett concert. And it turns out there's all these hand movements to do and audience participation. So I'm just like, teach me. I want to learn how to do this. And I liked it enough then that I thought, I'm going to keep doing that more. I want to do more of that because it's more, I feel more balanced, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of times when people think grown up, they think, responsible and serious, and I'm over that. I know how to be serious really fine, and I don't need to practice that. I need to practice the more lighthearted side of being grown up.
Yeah. It's such a gift to catch ourselves. The thing that is one of, again, the challenges is we get into mechanics and we get into like, we're going to do it this way, and we have these sort of blinders on. We can't see around us what's possible. And you might discover when you have clarity what you're focusing on, that there's going to be so much support and help along the way that it's almost easier to go that direction than any other direction. So absolutely, that connection back inside, and I like the idea about accessing a teenage self, because the thing is, we do have this challenge of having an adult brain, an adult mind that thinks it knows everything, which it doesn't. And then when it doesn't know, it doesn't really care about. It's like, no. Whereas again, the younger self, that inner, it's the inner child or the inner teenager, has a lot of the playfulness and the adventure, and also the living in possibility. So who do you want to be when you grow up? And actually want to just shift gears clearly for a second, because this is our show about dating and relationships. About who do you want to be when you grow up? Like, maybe you have a vision about relationship. In fact, if you're single and you're watching a show, you probably do have a vision for a relationship. That's why you're watching our show. Well, I talk to so much geared towards you. So one of the pieces of that is to really get clear about what you want to have in a relationship. But almost more importantly, that though is how do you want to be in that relationship? Because you may have a thing about, actually want to date somebody, find somebody and go to the dating apps or whatever and just swipe until you meet somebody cute and like, oh great, you're gonna go with them. But what if you started with a different premise? What if you started with the premise of like, how I want to feel when I'm in a relationship, what I want to do when I'm in a relationship, and how do I want to express myself when I'm in a relationship, and make that your focus? Because the thing is, all of that stuff, nothing to do with anybody else. Your community, you have connection and community, you have dominion over that area. And then when you're doing that, you might discover that you start attracting people who mirror or match that quality you're looking for. So the who do you want to be when you grow up is, you want to be in love, you want to be in an amazing relationship. Great. What does that mean to you? Start digging deeper and deeper. That's where the real work begins.
Yeah, that's what we work on with our clients all the time. And certainly the way that people often can get off track is when you ask them, well, how do you want to feel? Well, I want to feel in love. Well, tell me about that. What does that mean? What words would you use that meant that you were in love? What actions would you take? What would happen in your mind? What would be different in your life? What would you do differently in your life? And then how do you start acting that way now? How do you start feeling that way now? What other things could bring that to you? Because it's like a dry sponge, you can't pick up anything with a dry sponge. You have to prime it with some liquid first, and then it can pick up things better. So those were such key points, Barry, that you and I have talked about a lot in our past podcasts. Thank you for bringing it back to that, because what is next in your life? As Dr. Laura says, between now and dead, how do you want to feel? She says it all the time, so loud and crass and direct, but really, especially if you're over 50, generally you're halfway through your life. So between now and when you're not here anymore, how do you want to feel, and what do you want to experience, and what would bring you more joy? What would you like to learn more about? And it doesn't have to be, I have to take a class and learn Portuguese. I'd like to learn another language, or I'd like to experience another culture. You go to dinner at a place where they serve different kinds of food, and maybe they speak a different language, and you can at least learn the names of the food items. I mean, you could take such tiny little steps where you don't have to fly to Portugal or learn Portuguese, but you could go someplace where they cook Portuguese food. And who knows who you'll meet there and who you would talk to. And maybe they're there trying the same thing, and there you have something in common. So feel is really important, because we need to stay in our heads so that we don't get in that chemical rush. And while we're staying in our head, how would you like your body to feel? How would you like to feel energized? How would you like to feel curious? How would you like to feel anticipatory? Not hormonal. We need that to be a little off to the side, because otherwise that kind of cancels everything else out. Don't you think that's when we really aren't being grown up at all?
Yeah, it's the thing I'm going to also add to that is attraction of judgment, as in it's going to be very attractive to start judging because it's not working the way you want it to. Because a lot of people I know, and some clients have been this way too, where they get trapped in pessimism, or they get trapped in doubt, or just trapped in disbelief. And so all this prescription we're offering you and suggestions we're offering you is things you can do. You may only try them on for a couple of days and start saying, you know what, it's not working, I'm out. It's like, first of all, I'm going to say give it time. But secondly, like you were saying, and I want to anchor that or underscore that too, is how can you do that now? Like, yes, you want to be in a relationship. So how do you want to feel? You want to feel love? Great. You want to feel joyful? Great. You want to feel playful? Great. How can you do those things right now? And the thing is, if you do that right now, in some ways, you don't even need the relationship because you're doing the thing you want, your own experience you want now in your life. So why would you give up on your own life? Why do you give up on yourself? This is a great time to practice those experiences and feelings you'd have when you're in the relationship. Obviously, the things you won't get until you're in that relationship. There's certain physical things, for example, but having the experiences of feeling good and feeling joyful, feeling loving, feeling expressive and outwardly focused, you can do that anytime. And when you're single, it's a great time to practice because then when you're in a relationship, it gets even easier.
Yes, if you practice ahead of time. Sometimes people think they should just wait and then they could practice together. I think you get to get good at what you're good at, and then they're good at what they're good at, and then you can get good at new things together.
Yes.
And so on-the-job training in a relationship is okay as long as you've done your work ahead of time.
Your apprenticeship on your own.
Yes. So who do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be in a marriage? Do you want to be living together? Do you want to be living apart? Would you like to have a variety of people? I mean, nobody gets to make that decision except you. And it's really helpful if you could make some decisions and then dabble and see what works for you and what doesn't when you're dabbling. So part of growing up is sampling and trying and seeing, as you say, every time you do something, how was that for me? Did it make me feel better, worse, neutral? And what would have made me feel not worse and even better? And was neutral okay? Because neutral is not bad. Neutral means it didn't really add anything, but it didn't take anything away. So I sometimes go neutral. Thank God I learned that thing. It didn't have a big old reaction this time. I mean, I'm kind of relieved sometimes.
Yep.
That's a pretty grown-up feeling.
That is a level of maturity, because we have this tendency sometimes to think if we don't get everything we want, then it's all bad. It's like, no. The neutrality piece you're speaking to really is about, I would say, equilibrium or homeostasis, is those centered places where things are working okay. So I'd like to, if you're not doing this, reframe the idea of being neutral as being balanced, which is a good thing, because the challenge is sometimes we feel like we're going to be all the way positive, and so anything below that is negative. It's like, no, if we're actually neutral and it's centered that way, I mean, another way of putting it is being centered, it's being that place for your whole. So it's a victory in some people to be neutral, to be centered, because when you're centered, nothing bad is happening and there's room for good. Is one way of looking at it.
Yeah. So what would you like next? What would feel like a grown-up decision? What would be the next thing that would feel important or interesting or adding to your life? What people do you want to add? What activities do you want to add? What knowledge do you want to add? And go try them out, because you don't know till you try, right?
Indeed. Yeah, that's the thing, is that this is, well, I was trying to think of good quotes for it, but the reality is that we have a life that we're living that is an experiment. It is a chance to play. It is a playground. So why not enjoy and explore it? And the challenge is, I know some people, they have lots of weight on the shoulders, the pressure, all the things about they got to take over debts, and they got to take over the house and the kids and all those other things. There's still room in there to have fun. There's still room in there to play and be silly and have that lightheartedness that, frankly, life should be about anyway. In fact, if you could do lightheartedness in the middle of all that stuff, when it starts taken care of, how much easier it's going to be.
I think the kids, if we let them, can be really, really good teachers of how to balance our adult person and our teenage person. That I think helps the grown-up feel more balanced, more mature, that you aren't being hard on yourself and heavy all the time, that you're having some playtime, have them show you how to cook something, or show a new game, or a new way of doing something, or, you know, just color together, or play a silly card game together. Because I think what it does is it brings us back to a more healthy grown-up person when we've had a chance to balance it out with kids or puppies or kittens, or, you know, all of that can be really helpful, I think.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the idea of being like weighed down and serious and everything else doesn't make you very attractive if you're single. So
you don't smile very much, and smiling is very attractive.
Absolutely. So the idea in this is not to be silly for silly's sake. It's about to be lighthearted enough so that when you meet somebody, they like who they see.
Yeah.
Because this is what we're about, hoping you get what you want. So it all makes sense, doesn't it?
I think so. And it's funny, I know I've mentioned her before. I have a friend, Joanne, that if people say, have I met her? I have to say no, because you remember her, because she is the most playful, lighthearted person I've known. And we've known each other a very long time, 40 years probably. She's the most playful, lighthearted person I've ever known in my life. She can make anything fun. And she's not always silly. Sometimes she can be, but mostly she just looks at things in a really lighthearted way. And so if you need cheering up, or you need her to get you out of the doldrum, I'm the person she comes to when she wants to have a serious talk, because everybody depends on her for the silly. And then she can be silly with me and just be lighthearted and make things just fun. And so if you don't know how to do it yourself, look for people that are like that. I'm gifted that I can keep surrounding myself with people that like to play. That's and great. I get to go hang out with them. Yeah, I feel really lucky, really lucky.
So when you ask the question, who do you want to be when you grow up? You want to be surrounded by playful people.
For sure. And they know how to play. And you and I just go, okay, take me along. I'm a very good instigator to do stuff. I don't always think of the playful stuff. So when I want somebody to play with, I go, you be the instigator, or I'm going to plan this and you're going to make it lighthearted. Because they'll go, you always make it so serious. Well, your job is to make it lighthearted then.
Yeah, being a team is a good thing.
Yeah, I think so too. That's another grown-up trait where you say, this is my strength. Like what we just talked about our podcast. We each bring our strengths to this. You and me and Cece. We are like a three-legged stool. We could not do this without each of us. Each of us have a very important, stable part of this that keeps it going. And so grateful that we have the three people, because I don't want to do the stuff you guys do, and you don't want to do the stuff I do, and she doesn't want to do the stuff we do. So how great is that? And so I think that was a very grown-up choice for all of us, that we now had a partnership, that we knew how to collaborate with each other. We could ask people for help. We could share our lists with each other. And I think sometimes people are way too serious grown-ups and don't know how to do that at all.
Oh, so true. And I love the idea of that. Yeah, I mean, because it is a very grown-up thing to do, is to build a network, is to create that community that helps you be better at being yourself. And I know for me, the same thing is having those people I can rely on and trust and connect with that really make things easier. And it's just joyful to play with these people, because the great thing is I don't have to carry it all myself. And the ease with which they show up, because that's their natural strength and I have my natural strengths, it's all additive. So yeah, absolutely, having the way we work together is so much easier. Yeah, I mean, Cece rocks in her role, and you and I have our own different perspectives, so it makes it a perfect little arrangement.
Oh, I love it. I just can't imagine doing this any other way. I hope we both just keep hanging around forever. So we'd love to hear what you consider being a grown-up thing, and how you would like to be grown up differently than you are, or how you are being grown up, and maybe you have suggestions for us, because figuring out what you want to do next, what you want to bring along that you've already done, and what new things you want to add. It's always been the best part of being an adult for me, that I would look at what things were working for me, what things I wanted to get rid of, what things I wanted to, like cleaning out your house, new things I needed to add to make my life easier. That has always felt very grown up to me and very adult. You know, I have people in my family that fought every birthday, and I kept thinking, I don't understand why, because I felt like it just kept giving me more freedom. And so that's how I hope that we've presented that. I think there's so many more options.
Yeah.
Especially right now. I mean, there's such a big pile of us, the baby boomers. We have lots of impact in the financial world and the news world. I mean, we really do have a big impact. And what kind of impact would you like to be? That would be a very grown-up thing to think. Do you want to go out and give a talk? Do you want to go out and make a difference, like with our volunteering, or teach a class, to kids, or help with animals, to do something that, because you're a grown-up person now with all this knowledge and experience that you could now share with other people. I think that could be kind of a fun goal as a grown-up. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's a great idea. There's something that's so much easier. Again, it's like the idea of not being alone in all this, and to have such a willingness to explore and to discover. Because the thing, and the other part too, so one more piece to the puzzle before we wrap up, is I know so many people that seem to, and it's almost, I say it's a nice way. I'll say the word from the movie title, Dead Man Walking. There are people basically who have given up before they've done with life. It's like, and the way that I love it, and Richard Bach has in Illusions says there's a way to discover if your mission on earth is finished. You're still here, it isn't. And I love that idea, because the being is that if you're still alive, you're still breathing, there's more to explore, there's more to play, there's more fun to have, there's more freedom to engage in, there's more things you can do to contribute and to receive. So why not engage? Why not play? Why not fulfill? Because the thing is, the truth is the clock's ticking anyway. And you can be dead bored about it, or you can be fully participating in it. I recommend the latter.
I like the why not question. I think that's a very important question to and answer. Why not? Because it doesn't usually have a lot of substance when you really think about it.
No.
I love it. Well, I hope that people have gotten something out of this, because I've enjoyed this conversation very much. It's helped me solidify who I am and what I'm doing, and to be when I want to be, grow up and turn into my lovely friend Donna, and when I'm 81, and to just inspire other people. So if you'd like to talk to Inspiring Barry or I, the way to inspiring me, it's through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. And you scroll to the middle and you'll see what's holding you back from love questionnaire. If you click on that, you can fill out a questionnaire that's 10 questions about where are you and where would you like to be when you grow up. And then you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me at your convenience. You can also join my newsletter, so you'll get a repeat of this podcast, as well as all the other exciting things that are happening in my life and in my business. And if you scroll to the bottom of that same homepage, you'll find all my social media links for Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest and YouTube and Instagram. And then how would people, and you can also send me a personal email at Christine. Thank you. I watched your eyes. My personal email is Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And I'd love to hear from you. And how do people reach you, Barry?
Well, thank you for asking. Similarly, I have a bunch of stuff people find me at too. So I have a website, which is my name, Barry Selby. So barryselby.com is my site. And on the home screen of my site, there are 3 things you can click on. The top of the page, there is a link to have a conversation with me, which is basically let's chat. And it's an invitation to have a conversation, simple as that. There's a questionnaire you fill out, and my calendar you can get onto. So basically, we can have a 30-minute conversation that really is to get clarity where you are and where you want to go, and if I can help you. Because it's not guaranteed I will be able to help you, but at least I'll help you something. And then we talk about further steps if you want them. At the bottom of the screen, there's an invitation to be on my email list. And basically, that gives you an update every week when I send out an email about the replays of the show. I think I'm working on, there's some new things brewing, and I'll say I've got a preview of something else coming up soon. I'll talk about in a second. In the middle of the screen, there's a link to my current relationship readiness assessment quiz. And you go directly there if you want to go to barryselby.com/quiz. But if you click on the button in the middle of the screen, you go straight to the quiz there as well, which gives you basically a chance to review where you are and where you want to go in relationship, what you're looking for and what's not working. And at the end of it, you get like a score, basically. It sounds crazy to give you a score, but it gives you some evaluations, some resources, some ideas to think about, and then an invitation to have a chat with me as well. Also, just a sidebar as well, I mentioned this last week, I'll say again this week. On my website is also a couple of my other things, including my book. So if you go to the books on my site, and that's barryselby.com/book, or just click on the button in the navigation, because now I just added last week, which I think is so entertaining. Please click on it. At the top of the screen, underneath the introduction, there's a little audio clip, which is an AI-generated review of my book by 2 hosts that are made-up people. And I'm still like reveling in how amazing it was, because I didn't have any clue how good it was going to be. It's AI generated, but it's two voices talking about my book, and they're pretty accurate because it's taken from my book. So if you have the time, it's like 10-12 minutes. If you have time, you want to be entertained, click on the book page and have a listen to that audio. It's really fun. Anyway, besides that, you send me an email. Oh, preview. So I'm in the process, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine on a podcast did a couple of weeks ago, that I'm talking about self-relationship a lot more in my work, and about self-love. So I'm creating, it's not finished yet, but almost ready, another quiz, but it's a self-relationship quiz. And it really is about the self things I talk about, which is self-approval, self-support, self-trust, self-confidence. All these different things are built into this new quiz that's coming out. So if you want to find out more about that, drop me an email. If you want something else, you can also email Barry@barryselby.com, just to let me know you're interested, and I'll send you maybe a preview so you can check it out for yourself. It's not ready yet, but it's close to being ready. Additionally, find me on social media, and my name is on most of the social media platforms, except for Instagram and Threads, which I'll get to. But my name, Barry Selby, is on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, on Blue Sky. I've just got an account on Blue Sky, which is another news site's coming up. There's more. They've been more using that in the media coming up. Apparently, just reached another 16 million people on there or something, 1.6 million people. So it's become a new social media platform. Anyway, that's a new platform. I don't know much about it. I'm just on there. So whatever that is. And on Instagram and Threads, it's the real Barry Selby. I had to change my account. And I think that's everything now.
You're always very cutting edge, Barry. I always know learn so much from you.
Yeah.
So we are here every Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between. And we'd love for you to join us live and ask us questions. We're happy to answer them while we're live. You can also watch us on any computer or TV through Roku and Apple TV, and then they can take us with them, huh, Barry?
Absolutely, because this is now as a podcast as well, so you can listen to us on your podcast platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, whatever podcast platform you listen to. So therefore, you can listen to us when you're jogging, biking, running around, doing your errands, whatever it is. You can listen to us in your ear without having to worry about looking at the screen, because you just hear us, which have dulcet voices. So, but either way, whether you watch our videos on YouTube or Facebook or the other platforms I mentioned, or you listen to some audio on the podcast platforms, there's a lot of content out there for you. So we're almost at 200 episodes. So that'll keep you busy if you want to learn about relationships.
And we'd be really grateful if you liked it and subscribed and shared it with your friends who are having dating and relationship challenges as well.
Absolutely.
And we will be back next week with another fun subject.
We'll
Bye
see you
for
then.
now.
Take care.